Hope you have fun, the near and the dear ones, the old and the young. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear.
So this is Christmas, for weak and for strong, for rich and the poor ones. The war is so long.
Happy Christmas for black and for white, for yellow and red ones. Let's stop all the fight. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear.
And so this is Christmas, and what have we done? Another year over, and a new one just begun.
And so happy Christmas, we hope you have fun, the near and the dear ones, the old and the young. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Let's hope it's a good one without any fear. War is over if you want it. War is over now. War is over if you want it. War is over now. Happy Christmas.
Thank you.
We want to welcome you to Unity of Bittner. We're going to start our services the way we always do. Let's stand and affirm that God is good and all is well. 1, 2, here we go. What a wonderful morning, beyond compare. I feel God's loving presence everywhere, and I am filled with joy profound. In a world where many miracles abound, in the garden of my soul, I am happy then. I know that God is good and all is well. In the garden of my soul, I am happy then. I know that God is good and all is well.
Where we live and express unconditional love and grow together in peace and prosperity. My name is Brennan, and I am honored to be with you this morning, both in person and online. Whether this is your first time or your 100th time joining us, we are grateful for your presence and participation as we share this special time together. We have come together as part of love's divine purpose that calls each of us forth to celebrate the connection we all share through the holy presence within and all around us that we call God. In this spirit of community, we enfold in light and love all spiritual and religious gatherings and all people everywhere. We begin our time together with this special message from our daily word. The daily word for today is joy. I feel the joy of God within me as a gentle spring bubbling up within my heart and bringing energy to all that I do. This reassuring feeling is a sure sign that I am living in harmony with my true spiritual identity. I discover joy by connecting with the Christ within. As I become a greater conduit, I find renewed kindness and love to share this holiday season. I express compassionate love as I align my heart with the great heart of God, which beats with a steady rhythm of joy. I share joy through selfless service. Every day offers an opportunity to make a difference by lifting up others with a considerate gesture or a quiet word. Each act of kindness fills my heart with joy. Our scripture for today is from Isaiah. For the Lord will comfort Zion. Joy and gladness will be found in her, thanksgiving and the voice of song. And now for our affirmation, which I will read once and then ask you to repeat with me twice. I feel fully alive and joyous. Together? I feel fully alive and joyous. And this time with some joy. I feel fully alive and joyous. There we go. Okay. And now I invite you all to look to the other people in this sanctuary or around wherever you may be as we recognize the constant truth of this song, that surely the presence of love is in this place.
Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the march of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on its face. Surely the presence of love is in this place.
Good morning, my dear hearts. And all you who are still in your pajamas at home, we are so glad you are with us. So I wanted to start off with a joke instead of in my talk early on, because today is all about joy. Well, this isn't really a joke. This is a true story that happened to me, but I love it. So I was shopping in a thrift store where I want to do, and I found this cool black jumper thing. You put your legs in it and you put your arm, you stretch your arms in it. You had a shirt underneath. And it was a small. So I thought, well, I better try this sucker on. So I went in, tried it on, and it fit. So I was up at the counter paying the lady for it. And I said, I am so excited. This thing is a small. And I used to weigh 100 pounds dripping wet, but those days ended when menopause hit. And she goes, she was so cute. She had a son neck. She goes, honey, if I were you, I'd wear it inside out. Oh, gosh. I run into great salespeople. All right, so let's with our laughter, let's take a nice deep breath and come into this present moment. And allow ourselves to let the mind, who's always got all kinds of thoughts and plans going, let that relax and come down to our heart center. Take another breath in and just feel the peace that is in that stillness. Feel the joy. Let us remember the truth of who we are, that we are this joy. We are the light of the world. We are love. So we bring all of that into this sacred space here, into the sacred space wherever you are. Just let it amplify. And in this wonderful space, we bring in all the prayer concerns in our prayer box, all the prayer concerns within our minds and hearts. I'll just give you a moment to express those if you want to, out loud or silently. Bring in those you love. And now we bring our world into this space, a world that has so many things happening that are hurtful and challenging, and tornadoes and craziness. We bring all of that into this space of love which harmonizes and unites and reminds us of the truth. So by doing that, we bless it all. And see Spirit at work. See miracle after miracle happening, because where love is present, miracles always happen. And so it is with joy that we allow ourselves this realization, and that we continue forward knowing what seems impossible to us is possible with God. And we close with our usual sentence, I am grateful 3 times. I am grateful. I am grateful. I am grateful. And I'd like, if you are a newcomer, or a newcomer, I invite you to take a welcome packet that is by the door. And if you're online and this is your first time, our website, unitybonaire.org, has all kinds of information. You can call the office and get any more information you might need. We would love to participate and share the joy that is here with you. And priority announcements. So I'm sneaking, I'm only supposed to have one, but I'm sneaking in a second one. So this week, we're having chant night. Now let me tell you, I have been going to chant night for years and years and years. It's one of the most wonderful things. Chanting is different than singing. It takes you to a different place. Music always takes us to our hearts. But Dan will back me up on this, right? Chanting takes you to an incredible place. And Dan and Valerie used to do it together, but Dan is doing it now, and we're doing it at 7 o'clock on Tuesday night, both in person and live streaming. So if you want to give yourself the gift of tuning into this marvelous space where chanting takes you, please join us. And you'll be sorry if you miss it, but you won't be sorry if you show up. And my second announcement is, now I know all of us here, almost all of us, are of a certain age. So that means some of us aren't moving our bodies as much and stretching as much and all that. So we have somebody in our congregation that is offering chair yoga every Friday at 4:30, and every now and then I tune in, and there's just a couple people, so I'm going, well, what is with this? All of us need to move our behinds, you know, and you don't have to move them very far because we do a lot of it in a chair. But at the end, we do stand up. So I invite you to consider joining us. We have a lot of fun. Barbie, stand up and wave. Barbie is a master teacher. And I would like to know if that isn't a good time for you, please let me know, because Barbie's willing to move it around. Friday afternoon isn't a particularly good time for me. So let's find out what's keeping people away from having a lot of fun doing this together. All right, so now I invite Lisa, our chaplain for the day, to come up and light our Advent wreath. Thank you, Lisa.
Our Advent today says, I remember to savor the joy of anticipation. I remember my mother saying to me, all good things come to those who wait. How exciting that was, and how excruciating. But this is the time to unleash that inner child who knows the magic and the joy in all things, especially the joy of anticipation. All will be revealed. So say this affirmation with me. We're going to say it twice. And I'll say it once so you can hear it again. I remember to savor the joy of anticipation. Together,
I remember to savor the joy of anticipation.
And one more time with gusto.
I remember to savor the joy of anticipation.
Now I'm going to light the candle, hopefully without lighting myself.
Thank you.
And now it's time for a congregation sing-along. Let's all stand. We'll sing Joy to the World. Oh, I'm sorry, I started in the wrong key. You guys, I'm suffering from Christmas blur right now. Just keep me in your prayers. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Earth is her King. Let every heart declare Him rule, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations prove the glories of His righteousness, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love, and wonders of His love. Yay.
Say our statement of truth, which is up on the screen. There is only one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the omnipotent good. And then we're going to the Lord's Prayer again, where we're just going to pray it with words instead of with music. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Now you may be seated. So we're doing things a little bit different today because we are having our communion service of the year. And even that is happening a little bit different. So I hear last year you weren't having in-person services at this time, so you didn't have an in-person communion service. So we're having it where we're actually sitting here, and those at home are joining us, but because of COVID, we're using special cups that have the wafer on the top and the juice in the bottom. And these little devils are tricky. So we are inviting you to take one home at the end of the service instead of cussing while you're in here and spilling. Or you can take it out to the patio and do it immediately after the service. So we're going to go through the ritual, but we're going to let you do the consuming after the end of the service. So let's talk a moment about communion. So in a tradition where we're very metaphysical, so we're not saying this is really Jesus' body and blood. We're saying these are symbols that are pointing us towards something deep and truthful. Symbols transform and redirect energy, so they have a very deep purpose. So a symbol and ritual help us connect in ways that we don't connect just with words. So it takes something that is real, like bread or juice, and points to something that is real but is abstract. So symbols take you to underlying mystery. And a good mystery is a great thing to connect to. It helps us like almost vibrate on the inside. So these symbols are to evoke and direct our psychic energies. So one reason we do communion is we remember and establish our acceptance of the Christ that it lives within us, lives and dwells and expresses in and through us. So we're celebrating a communion of our mind and heart with the one source, the one presence, and the one power. So in the course of Jesus' life, we are told that Jesus took the bread and said, "This is my body, eat it," and took the cup and said, "This is the cup of my blood, drink it." Well, he didn't mean this literally. Bread symbolizes for us substance, and substance is the spiritual essence out of which all things are formed. It's kind of like a body of spiritual ideas. And the wine symbolizes, or juice, the blood, the life, a circulation of divine ideas. So, and when we're lifting that up in our own consciousness, what we're doing is we're purifying our minds and our hearts and renewing our strength, because we end up freeing error thoughts as we let go of things that are untrue. And we become aware that we are the living light of God. We let go, even though we're using something we can see and touch and taste, we're using things that we can sense with our senses. We're connecting with that which you don't sense with your senses, right? That's the trick about symbols. So when we commune, when we celebrate communion, we celebrate becoming one with the truth of our being. So as you take your elements home today, and as you partake of them, I want you to remember that they're pointing to something so deep and so true, that we are so much more than anything we see physically, and that we are hooking into this power of love that is living us. We are hooking into this magnificent energy that is light, that is shining in our lives. Now that is something to really celebrate, right? So we commune with the truth of that. We just allow love to wash over us. We allow truth to fill us. And when anytime you do that, then the next thing that happens is the joy starts bubbling up. So we let the joy just bubble up. And we will say, thank you, Spirit, as we do that. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to our music team.
Deep in the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, what does the future hold in store? Where has our journey brought us? How can we learn from what's gone before? What has experience taught us? We are the future. We can reach for the stars. We feel at home in our own backyard. We want to be who we are. Friendship will light the darkest hours. True love will hold the vision. Peace and goodwill on earth is ours. Let it be your decision. We are the future. We can reach for the stars. We feel at home in our own backyard. We want to be who we are. Deep in the darkest winter night, here with my candle burning, cozy and warm inside the light. Now that the year is turning, feel how the year is turning.
Thank you, Claudia, Dan, and Julie. We are so blessed. Wait a minute, this thing is trying to cut loose in my ear. There we go. Okay, so today, if I get going and you think, what is she talking about? Just look behind me and you'll remember. It's joy, right? So as human beings, we are subject to ups and downs to life, just like breathing, in and out, ups and downs. But the truth about joy is it emerges independent of life's circumstances. It is the radical willingness to find contentment with the things as they are. Many weeks ago, I gave you the tip to remember TIP. This is perfect, right? We're in the middle of stuff going on and it doesn't seem very perfect, but you call it back into remembrance. This is perfect. God is at work even in the midst of this. But here's the biological thing going on. We're hardwired to attend more vigorously to negative experiences because in our evolutionary history for survival, it was important to notice potentially dangerous stimuli and pay attention to that rather than appreciate all the positive things going on in our lives. So when it comes to negative experiences, we kind of have a Velcro mind built in. Let's attend to this, quick, quick, quick. But even if only one bad thing happens during the day, now this is how I do, and I'm pretty sure you do too, that's the thing we grab onto and don't let go. With positive experiences, we kind of have like a Teflon mind. They bounce right off before we even know what happened, and we go back to thinking about the negative thing that happened. So when we're talking about joy, here's the great news. Anytime we remember the truth of who we are, we can just tap right back into that joy. And here's something very beautiful I read this week. We're reading it actually every day in A Course in Miracles. So I want you to close your eyes and just sink into these words. I am God's son and daughter, complete and healed and whole, shining in the reflection of divinity's love. In me is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. I am the holy home of God. I am the heaven where God's love resides. We are the holy messengers of God who speak for God and carry God's word to everyone whom God has sent to us. And as we're carrying that, we learn. It's written in our hearts. Okay, take a breath and come up. So that is the truth of who we are. We are beings in whom love is perfected, in whom fear is impossible if we're attending to that. And joy is just absolutely ready to go crazy. We can cultivate joy. We can set an intention that we will open ourselves to joy and remind ourselves of this intention daily. So I have a slide with an intention, but we had a great one earlier. I am filled with joy. Join me with that. I am filled with joy. So if we start our day with the intention to be in touch with that, then, it's like when you are thinking about buying a yellow Mustang or something, and you start seeing yellow Mustangs everywhere. So when you start with an intention, you're going to be noticing it throughout the day and allowing these things to come forward. So one of my favorite Unity ministers is Kelly Isola, who works out of Kansas City. And this is what she says about surrender. And surrender is tied to joy. Surrender is not outer capitulation, but rather an inner opening. So the title of my talk today is Joy, J-O-Y, Just Open Yourself. Just open yourself. So we're talking about becoming open. I am in God. As I open completely to everything unknown, I am in God completely. In surrendering, we get humble enough, vulnerable enough, and naked enough in order to be possessed by God, to let the ego, put the ego in the back seat and let spirit be in the front seat. Only then do I discover that I have all I need, because I'm one with everything that is. Only then do I connect with that place inside that never changes. So thank you, Kelly, for those words. It is here that we touch joy. When we surrender to opening up our hearts and saying, okay, right in this moment, what is the truth? And Henry Nouwen, who was a monk that I've read many of his works and find him amazingly inspiring, he wrote, joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. Well, I think there are moments when joy just happens to us, and I had a really fun one last night. So a lot of people didn't come to a big party because of the rain, but those of us that were here, we were in the fellowship hall, and Claudia was singing, Julie was singing and playing drums, and people were just dancing out of the joy of these Christmas carols, and that brought me so much joy just to see people dancing. And then some of the children from the neighborhood showed up, and they came in. You know, so sometimes joy does just pop up, but there's another part of truth, that if we want more joy in our lives, by telling our minds, okay, that's what I want to see, that's what we ferret out, right? So, so I'm not equating myself with the Dalai Lama, but I'm giving the Dalai Lama some competition. So he says, he says, the purpose of our life is to be happy. But what I say is, because happy is kind of not as deep to me as joy. So I say the purpose of our lives is joy. And Catherine Ponder wrote this, I love this. If people only knew the healing power of laughter and joy, many of our finest doctors would be out of business. Joy is one of nature's greatest medicines. Joy is always healthy. A pleasant state of mind tends to bring abnormal conditions back to normal. And God, decades ago, the guy who did Candid Camera, he ended up with cancer, Alan Font, and this is before we even had VCRs, and he ended up, because he was in the TV world, he had connections to watch things on TV that were hilarious, like Three Stooges and Candid Camera and I don't know what all, but he laughed himself back to health. He just said, you know, there's got to be a secret here, and he found it. Then a guy named Chuck, whose last name is way too many letters for me to say, says, find joy in everything you choose to do. Every job, every relationship, in your home, it's your responsibility to love it or to change it. So that's putting us back into the choice point, right? And back to touching base with the truth of who we are. If we're in a job that we hate, we can say, well, you know, I'm making money, I'm being the breadwinner, you know, I'm not going to quit. But then we go back to, well, the truth of who we are is we're at one with everything that is. So we don't have to worry about quitting a job that is torturing us. Because there's a job that won't torture us out there that Spirit will move us into. Joy is that special place that gives texture and flavor to our daily life. Without it, we are left with closed hearts and closed minds. So just stop and think about a moment when that was where you were. Closed heart, closed mind, everything seemed impossible. But when we turn back to joy, we can learn how to find, to grow, and share it. And there's books out with people that are discovering this and writing about it in their lives. The Pursuit of Happiness by Gretchen, somebody, is her story. She was already a pretty happy woman, but she decided, well, what if I wanted to notch it up a bit? What would I do? That's a great book. I mean, there's people doing these kind of exploratory things and sharing them in blogs and all those kind of things. So we know this is true. As we make that choice, it just opens up and we dive into joy. Joy has something very pure and innocent about it, right? And my greatest sense of this is, well, just give me a baby. Just give me a baby to hold. There's the joy right there, pure and innocent. It's a feeling that reminds us of the innocence of childhood with all its endless pleasures. A pure mind open to the charm of the world can find joy everywhere. So I've been thinking about joy for 2 weeks, and I was driving around looking at the lights, and I thought, just seeing these lights in the trees with no leaves on, all the way up the trunk and out in our gardens, just seeing those brings me joy. And I thought, so I got a little curious, and I thought, well, I wonder why that is. So I don't know why that is, but so, we all make up stories all the time, right? So here's my story. So we recognize that's who we are. We see the light out there, and it's the light we are, and it just fills us with joy. Just such a great season to have a season of lights. And Mother Teresa said, joy is a net of love by which you can catch souls. And I still say that's how Joyce got me. That first Sunday I showed up, and I saw her up here doing the meditation, doing the talk, and just so filled with joy. I said, I want some of that. That is what I want. So when we see people possessed by joy, possessed by love, it's just like a magnet, it just magnetizes us in. Souls who are capable of love are capable of immense happiness and joy. Joy is the path that leads both to love and happiness. Once we devote ourselves to cultivating joy, we discover that we are surrounded by love. So a couple stories. So I was at Unity of Richmond last night. Val and Mir were having a Christmas party, and they said, oh, come on over. So Fred Hess is a member there who's now in the Unity Urban Ministerial School. So we started talking, and he told me this wonderful story. When their kids were younger, they were doing the visiting, the grandparents and whoever else is all around the world at the season of Christmas, and they had left one place where it was just a little bit snowy, and we're driving down 95 to go to another place, and in like 2 hours, 2 feet of snow fell. Can you imagine? So you could go in your mind and cars were stopped as far as you could see. Cars weren't moving. Looked like we were in a parking lot rather than on an interstate. And you could go to, no, not this. I'm going to have to sit in my car and wait. I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait. We're going to, start the pity party right away. But what they did was got out of the car with the children and started building snowmen. And they said, if this thing starts moving, it's going to take so long before ours starts moving way back here, we'll just jump back in the car and get going. So they were out there. People were putting their scarves on the snowmen, their hats on the snowmen. And so they made it an experience of joy rather than an experience of torture. And I've done that on the road to 95 up to D.C. I haven't had enough sense to make it an experience of joy. I sit there and... But he said for the next 30 miles, the whole way down the interstate were snowmen on the side of the road with scarves and hats. And, joy was just jumping out. People were choosing to do that. So here's my second story about joy. Now, this may bring some tears up for you. It's one of my favorite stories in all the world. And I told it probably 7 years ago at Christmas Eve. So even if you've heard it before, you'll enjoy hearing it again. So this is a true story of a minister and his wife that were called to serve a church in Brooklyn, New York. But the church was in disrepair, so when they got there, they had to start painting and drywalling and just every single kind of thing. But the denomination wanted them to open for Christmas Eve, so it was like December 18th, and they thought they were all done. Oh, they breathed a sigh of relief and went home. And then the next 2 days was just torrential rains. So they went back to the building, and not good news. There was a leak in the roof, and it had caused this huge, like 9 by 8 plaster falling off right behind the pulpit scene that was, kind of disgusting looking. So the minister goes, wow, I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with this. So he says, well, I'll get a plan going. So he starts to go back home, and he passes a place that's having a yard sale. Now, I don't know, New Yorkers must be crazy to be having yard sales in the middle of December, but in there he finds a crocheted tablecloth that has a beautiful cross in the center of it. And he opens it up, and oh my God, it's huge enough to cover that place on the wall of his sanctuary. So he buys it, and he heads back to the church. And as he's going into the church, there's an older woman who just missed catching the bus outside his church. And he says, oh, honey, come on in the church where it's warm, and you can wait there for 45 minutes while I do what I need to do and catch the next bus. And so he's got his ladder, he's hanging up the thing, and he looks out, and the woman is walking from the back of the sanctuary. Her face is absolutely white up to the front. And she says, will you look on the corner of that and see if the initials EGB are there? And he goes, yes, they are. And she says, oh my God, that is my tablecloth. I crocheted that 35 years ago when my husband and I were living in Austria before World War II. And the Holocaust came, and I was Jewish, my husband was Christian, and he was trying to get me to safety, and he was going to stay and prepare things. But the Nazis came and got me, and I never saw my home. I never saw my husband again. And he said, well, let me give you this tablecloth, give it back to you. And she says, no, it's perfect right there. He said, well, let me drive you home then, instead of having to take the bus. So she said, okay. So he drives her back to her apartment in Staten Island. Then a couple nights later, it's Christmas Eve service, and people are coming in and just swooning over the beauty of this thing up in the front of the sanctuary. There's joy, the carols are being sung, the presence of Christ is felt. And the minister and his wife are greeting people as they leave the door, but there's one man left sitting in the pews at the very end, and the man says to the minister, where did you get that tablecloth? That is exactly like the one my wife crocheted 35 years ago. And the minister says, well, I found it at a yard sale just down the street here. He says, but would you mind going for a drive with me after church? And the man says, sure, I'll do that. So, you know where he's going to take him, right? So, and the good thing, it was that kind of guy, because if me, you take me out of a paper bag and spin me around once, I can never find the same place again. So this guy drove right to the apartment in Staten Island, helped the man up the stairs to the apartment, and got the best Christmas gift of his whole life. To see these two reunited who thought they would never see each other again. Now that is joy. And to me, what that symbolizes is the coming home of ourselves. When we remember the truth of the love that we are, then we can have that joy wash over us. So one last thing to do before we close this, and this is a Joyce thing. I did this with my congregation in Ann Arbor on one of the Sundays of Advent, and so it's time to do it again here. So we're going to laugh together. So you get to point and laugh. You can stand up if you want. So it feels a little contrived at first because you're just starting to laugh and nobody's told a joke. But once you see everybody else laughing, it just starts flowing. So we're going to get in touch with this joy that is the core of our being. All right. So I'm going to start, and you all got to join in, or I'm going to look really crazy up here. And at home, you got to start laughing. And if there's anybody else in your house, go get them, because they're not going to want to miss out on this. Okay. So 1, 2, 3. Oh. Excellent, excellent. We let the joy come forward. So, and I haven't asked Beach her permission, but I want to ask Beach to stand up. Beach is wearing her joy on her head. Isn't this wonderful? Thank you, Beach. All right. I behold the Christ in each and every love light that you are. And so it is. So it's time to prepare our tithes and our love offerings. So if you have something in your hand, I invite you to hold it as we say our blessing. Is it up there? Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, for the joy of giving and receiving. Come on up.
Before we start, I have a quick joy that I want to share with you. The joy of being able to play with these two talented and beautiful musicians.
Yes.
As I walk down the road at set of sun, the lambs were coming homeward one by one. I heard a sheep bell softly calling them along the little road to Bethlehem. Beside an open door as I drew nigh, I heard sweet Mary sing a lullaby. She sang about the lambs at close of day and rocked her tiny boy among the hay. Across the silver air, the street bell rang. The lambs are coming home, sweet Mary sang. Your star of gold is shining in the sky. So speak my little boy now lullaby. Across the air the silver sheep bell rang. The lambs are coming home, sweet Mary sang. Your star of gold is shining in the sky. So sleep my little boy, now lullaby. As I walk down the road at set of sun, the lambs were coming homeward one by one. I heard a sheep bell softly calling them along the little road to Bethlehem. Along the little road to Bethlehem.
On the little road to Bethlehem.
Along the little road to Bethlehem.
On the little road to Bethlehem.
Along the little road to Bethlehem. Along the little road
to Bethlehem.
And we'll bring our offerings forward and bless them. And after I say the blessing, I zipped past my meditation somehow today, so we're going to just have a moment for us to sit in silence and let Spirit just do what Spirit does. So we're so grateful that we have the opportunity to give. We know the gift and giver are one. That these gifts are going to go out into our community, into our world, and be a blessing, and create hope, and stir up joy, and cause love to be poured forth and bubbled out and over into some crazy wild mess that only Holy Spirit is in charge of. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's just take a moment and go into this place where joy and peace and love reside. And for all of this, we're going to close by saying, I am grateful 3 times. I am grateful, I am grateful, I am grateful. And so it is.
All right, so I have our transformational opportunities coming up, but first I'm lucky enough to have the opportunity to invite up Brent for a very special moment.
Good morning, Unity. I've heard better than that. Good morning, Unity. Good morning. Thank you. It is so close to Christmas. We should be full of joy and just full of love to be here. Remember last year, we weren't able to have this type of service, but yet we are here to see the faces of people we've been knowing for years, people who we call family. That's important. Now, our service today was about joy. I find it ironic that the person who was giving this sermon is so full of joy. Her presence alone exemplifies the word joy and love. And so we thank her. We thank her. You know? Yeah. There was a point in time that we were looking for a minister. And so we searched and searched and searched and realized that we have somebody who could be our transitional minister within our own congregation. And so when her name came up, not one person on the board said no. Everyone said yes, yes, yes. Patty Bittner. We want her as our transitional minister. And when we talked to her, she looked at me with a smile and said, this was always a dream of mine. And so she was able to fulfill our dreams as well. So on this Christmas season, we have a gift from the board. Patty, if you don't join me. You know, I have to give credit for Mara. She's the one who picked this gift out. It's beautiful.
It is.
You know, see, in my family, when people ask me to give gifts, I just give checks. I got kids, okay? I'm sorry. Grown kids. And so as a result, Mara was very creative in her creation of this gift. And we want you to know that as members of the board, we support you, we appreciate you, and we behold the joy that you have brought to Unity of Bon Air.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I just am so full of joy to be here, and I can't do that little namaste thing because my wrists don't bend, because my joints don't cooperate. So when I go like this, it means I behold the Christ in you, and I love you. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, we're just so blessed. Well, and there are more opportunities for us to join together with our wonderful Unity of Bon Air family. This evening for the spiritual practice gathering, our speaker is going to be Jody Smith, and she will lead us in an exploration of the how, why, and what of coming together that has deep meaning in our lives. In other words, we will explore the spiritual practice of gathering at the gathering. So please join us either in person or on Zoom at 5 o'clock tonight. And we do still have an ample supply of holiday bags available for our at-home congregation or anyone unable to attend our special services this season. The bags include all the supplies for participating from home in all our holiday services from now all the way through the White Stone ceremony in January. You can pick one up today, or you can stop by during office hours, which is going to be Monday through Friday from 10 to 2, and pick up a bag for yourself and for others who participate in services remotely. If you can't pick one up, please call the office, and we'll see if we can't get someone to deliver that to you. Magic is in the garden. The meditation gardens at Unity of Bon Air are all dressed up for the holiday season. So please come by for a stroll and enjoy the festive holiday lights winding through the trees, the shrubs, and the gazebo. This is available daily from dusk until 9 p.m., and we're going to do this through January the 7th. And a huge thank you again to Myra and to Nora for all of the hours and work that you put into making this magic happen. So, and for even more magic and light this Friday at 7, please join us for our Christmas Eve candle lighting service. That's going to be at 7 o'clock on Christmas Eve, and it's going to be in person as well as live streamed. And during this service of sacred ritual and beautiful holiday music, we will explore the 12 spiritual powers living and expressing as us. Refreshments will be available following the service for spending this special time together. And next Sunday, December 26th, you're not going to want to miss this. That is the start of Kwanzaa. And at our 11 a.m. service, we are going to be graced to have the beautiful Reverend Alva Kershaw. And she is going to share a special message with us titled Kwanzaa, Celebrating All Things Beautiful. The traditions surrounding Kwanzaa are as individual as they are collective. And Alva is going to explore the ways in which we honor culture within that culture and honor one another uniquely together. Gentle reminder, we are continuing to wear masks while inside the building. For fellowship coffee, please enjoy your food and beverage, but be sure to put your mask back on to continue your conversations. We appreciate it, and we're all going to keep each other safe for the holidays and beyond. And our prayer chaplains, would our prayer chaplains please rise? They are here to pray with you today. Yeah. More of our lights, yeah. They're here to pray with you in the sanctuary, and you can also call the church office. And please know that all of your prayer requests are kept confidential, and we thank you. We love you, our chaplains. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to the wonderful Patty.
Okay. I think I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to look at my sheet just to make sure. Oh, the kids. Yay!
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We had a new visitor today, but quite ready to get up on stage, so we're going to let him sit down. Today, we watched the videos from Reverend Poncho at Unity.
Unity
Can't
of
think.
somewhere.
I can't think, sorry. And he is actually a minister. He does a whole segment on Advent Sundays for our kids, and he uses puppets and things. And so we talked about all 4 Sundays of Advent and what they meant. And then we just did some art. So he did some beautiful Christmas tree artwork and stuff, and so that's what we did today. Quick reminder, if you have teenagers that you think might be interested in learning more about Unity and attending our Unity Winter Retreat, it's in Chesapeake this year. It's Martin Luther King weekend, so if anybody thinks they have somebody that might be interested, please get with me. I'll get your information. I am going to go for sure, and I think I've got 2 more teens that are considering going, so I'd love to get more than that. But just see me, and that's it for today.
Yay.
Thank you.
So what's our new friend's name?
Elijah.
Elijah. We give a blessing at the end of the time when Melody comes up here, and we're also going to bless Melody. She had some eye surgery this week, and she is healing. So Elijah and Melody, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are, and we see you doing amazing things. Yay. Okay, so it's time for some acknowledgments. So we start at the door, and we've had people opening the door this morning. We've got Marcy in the bookstore, and Safari is doing his due diligence out there. And as we came in, we had greeters and ushers, people slaving away in the fellowship hall. Elijah, there are cookies after this. And drinks, too. So we have wonderful refreshments. We thank all of them. We have our amazing sound techs back there. We've got Deb and Sherry, and we've got our magnificent trio, our 3 wise people up here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Brennan. We love having Brennan on the platform, so yay. All right, so we get to say our special thing. The service is now ended, and our ministry of love continues. And let's stand for our prayer of protection and our peace song. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we.
Let us walk with each other
In
perfect harmony.
let peace
Begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Communion elements, they're going to be